Quick video. I'm going to talk real quick about what I did and didn't like, what I did this weekend, and just maybe what's going on for next weekend. So let's follow up real quick on these little jigs, little finesse jig. If you guys remember what I was putting a couple different skirts. I just started using the skirts they come with, like a peanut butter and jelly, a black and blue, and then there's just kind of a green one. But did pretty good with this little jig. They're only, if you buy 10 of them, they're just their house brand. They're $1 a piece. So these little finesse jigs, not the strongest, gauge in the world, but like me with the 15-pound test, I feel I can yank, get a good hook set, no problems. Went fishing with Matt on Saturday, smallmouth fishing. Caught a smallmouth on that jig with putting just about a half a Zinkers, which is basically kind of like a TRD deal. So if you guys know, they have the little TRD head jig things. This is a little bigger than that, but it's kind of that, pretty finessey bait that also works. Then on, I don't even have any. I used Matt's bait, but we were fishing with Matt Saturday, and look at that. You guys see that? You know what it is? Drop shot, right? That's a robo worm. I can't remember the name of that color, but robo worm brand, that color. I don't even know if that was a perfect color, but it worked. It was catching some fish. Now Matt had he had 2 bags of the Max Scent flatworms, right? 3.6 inch or whatever, a little bit smaller than this. One in more of like a light brown color, and then one like a dark purplish, almost black with like purple fleck. That purple one was not good. The real light one, it was doing real good. Those Max Scent flatworms, I think, are pretty good. And everybody knows about robo worms. This bait, and then I want to say it was just a little longer TRD looking thing in like a morning dawn, or like what Z-Man calls morning wood type color. So what I rig up, and then the bottom, I caught a few fish on the bottom bait, but I basically always rig up on instead of doing a true drop shot. You guys probably heard me call it before. I call it a double shot, and this worked. I caught a few smallmouth on this. I think I caught 1 or 2 on the bottom, but then I caught 1 or 2 on that once I switched to that. All the other baits I had that I tried on top did not work until I switched to that worm, because it was Matt and Hannah, and Hannah caught a couple on that, so I was like, give me one of those, because they had a whole bag of those. But the double shot, and then I ended up instead of changing that out, I just added a couple split shot. I felt it needed to be heavier, and with like 2 split shot, which are roughly almost a 16th, that rig right there was doing pretty good. I was using that exact one from the time I rigged it up. I'd stick a little bit, but I could get it popped off. It never hung up to where I had to break off. So that video will be coming out a little while later, but it was basically me, Matt, and Hannah went down to Stockton Lake and got on some smallmouth. We maybe 3 to 5 keepers, but probably maybe like 25 plus smallmouth we did catch. But it was a tough bite, I guess, but we found them. We got on some. My biggest, I missed the biggest. The biggest for me was on this, but came off. Then my biggest also was on this, and I caught it. I got it in. I threw it right up against, we're on a rock bluff, threw it right up against there, and he hit it instantly. Could not resist it. But I think I had, the one was on, popped off, and then the one I got, and then I think I had another hit or 2 on that little jig with the little half a peanut butter and jelly Zinkers all kind of worn out on it. There's actually one of the old ones that we'd already ran on I think I ran on a chatterbait for a little bit first. So anyway, I guess we'll call our smallmouth adventure a success, but you'll have to wait a little while to watch that video. The video that'll be coming out probably tonight, early morning, I had almost this exact bait. I think it was just a regular black and blue, but when the first video where I tried these out. Now I wanted to show you today I went out again, because all day yesterday I fished a few other baits. I threw a chatterbait briefly. If you guys remember right, I didn't bring it out. The little Mad Bites with the smaller little micro chatterbait blade. It works, but nothing chatterbait. Like we were on a smallmouth bite, no chatterbait fish were caught yesterday. So today I had to compensate, right? So I brought this out and I was fishing it, and I think I mentioned before, I like it cut down. I slimmed it down, right? So I just want that to be real sleek. I've talked about this in videos. I want this bait, that's why I like the hand tied. I want it to be about as skinny as possible, and I want it to kick, or I want it with just like a Zinkers, but I don't want the kickers to really, I want them to do just like what does a great job, but they don't last a long time. If you guys remember, are the, I don't even remember what they are. The baby rage minutes, not the rage minutes, the baby rage minutes. Problem with it is you can't put it all the way on, otherwise the legs I feel go up too high, and you, 3, maybe 5 fish or 5 bites, and you probably have to use a new one. So these are, and for those of you that don't know, not the baby goat, not the billy goat, just the middle, the goat. These are the goat size cut down, and I cut it down a little more today. I slendered it up real good, and then I also cut these off. If you guys can, well, if it would focus. Come on. Yeah, see, they actually were a lot wider. So I cut them off like that, and I think I'll like it there. I may get another one out, cut it, try to be a little straighter than what that is, but you know, just a little round, slender body, and I may try to cut these even just a little more. I just barely want anything back there to where they just flap some. But the main trick with the chatterbait, when you slender them up like that, is when you're coming like real slow, and then you just like, you give it a hard crank, it lets it jump more than if you have a heavier trailer that bogs it down. And when you use a regular, you know, bigger, almost anything, it just creates a pull. So when you know, change or try to change, it may move a little, but it doesn't really just let the bait wander around like hunt. And I feel that's what creates a very good, not really, it's not the profile. I'm not really trying to even make a, I guess the legs are giving it somewhat of a profile, and then if you run a straight Zinkers, like it goes crazy with the Zinkers all stretched out and most of the salt gone. It goes nuts with one of those. So anyway, that is definitely a plus, because I'll give you a little heads up. I went fishing today, trying these other baits I'm getting ready to talk about. Those things struck out big time. This bait, it was crazy windy. I ended up in the wind throwing this and flat tore them up. Caught several bass on that bait right there. This is the same exact, I've only cut one of these up. The video you're getting ready to watch tomorrow was the first time I cut it off, and I still had these the regular way and caught several fish, that exact same bait, and it's still going. So that's what I've been looking for in a chatterbait trailer. I could just slap on there and just go, right? Just throw it, go. Throw it to, you know, catch tons of fish. This isn't a jackhammer, it's the Jackie Hammer from AliExpress. This bait will honestly probably wear out before this does, because it's a $3.50 bait. Then if you notice, the Jackie Hammer, that is a regular gold blade off another Jackie Hammer. I was able to just take my needle nose, pop that up just enough to swap blades. So I took one of those pink ones, the gold blade off it, stuck it right on here. And then I just crimped that back in, and I'm looking at it right now, and I'll be honest, I haven't checked it until right now. It's still just fine from, you know, prying it open just a little and then crimped it back down. And this thing's probably caught, I don't know, a bunch of fish, over 10, no issues, right? So I think it's just some of them come without that squeezed all the way, and I think it happened to me once, and it happened to Charles. that I don't think that's pinched in all the way, and so it doesn't take much at all, and then you come back with just this blade on some of these knockoffs. So anyway, legit, right? AliExpress, Jackie Hamas. I think this, I don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce. They spell it different, weird. Well, actually, some of those I was getting for $2.50 or $2 even there at the end when they're on sale the right way. But at the most, they're always on there for like $3 or $3.50. Get them. Go get your goat from Z-Man. Get them cut down, and they'll have most of the probably a color that you can get that between the deal and all you really need. They make the orange and brown one, the black and blue, a white, the deal, the goats, the hot snakes, and I think that's all about the colors you would need to almost cover every chatterbait. Now you could get the just watermelon red flake if you want to make just a more of a watermelon or pumpkin. You just want a solid colored kind of green one. Then you could get those in the goat, or you can find a Zinkers that would also match up. And I kind of like to try both, and that's what today I honestly didn't. I was trying different colors. I was just going through, and I don't know, once that color, I've said it before. You get me on a color that I start to build confidence with. If I catch 1, 2, 3 bass and then I just stick with that on chatterbait, it's almost like game over. I can usually get on a decent chatterbait bite. Now, if I just spend the whole day swapping back and forth and you feel like you never really got on a decent bite, and I feel you do need to throw a few different colors on any given day, even if you're going to the same place. They tend to just, whatever reason, they'll hit a different color a little bit better than another one on different days. All right, that's enough about chatterbaits. Talk about the rod and reel real quick. Nah, you guys know the deal on that, right? Carbon Light 2.0, the Zillion. It is backlashed right now. I got frustrated. I threw into the wind, backlashed, and I was already ready to go. It was crazy windy, like 15 plus mile an hour winds. So, and the reason this one still has a small backlash. I backlashed the other reel that one of the Acuras, because I made a hard cast. I was trying to cast underneath this pump house thing today, and it's got this pipe going to the shore. And I went pretty hard, and it caught that pipe, so it stopped instantly. That reel went boom, and it's crazy backlash. I'm going to try to dig out. Wasn't 10, 15 minutes later, I backlashed that, and it's not a bad one, but I was just like, that's it, I'm done, because it was crazy windy, and I was already done. I'd already switched from one trolling motor battery to another one because I didn't charge them from the week before, and so yeah, I got to dig a little backlash out here. That's why it's there, and I just brought this one to show you the drop shot. Occasionally I do fish a drop shot when times get tough, or if somebody starts fishing, and that's the way. If you guys aren't like this, you probably should be, or I would recommend it anyway. If you go fishing with somebody and they're using something and it just starts working, rig up. Don't be that like, oh, I'll just hard-headed, I'll stick with my stuff. And if you don't have what's working, or you can't compensate, find something out of your tackle box that gets close. Don't grab something of what they got and catch fish. So this was working somewhat, but then we kind of went in a little Dinksville to little smallmouth. And there was no doubt that a drop shot was getting hit like 5-1 over the jig, or maybe even more. So I'm like, okay. I had the jig, I had the drop shot, and I ended up catching more. The biggest I caught was on this, but I did catch more on the drop shot. And I call it the double shot. It's basically a drop shot with just something else on the bottom instead of drop shot weight. So anyway, let's get to, short videos. I guess it's not in my repertoire. These baits. Oh my. These baits, as of right now, and I'm not done. Thumbs down. Thumbs down. Everything in here drives me nuts. And it may have just been the fact that it wasn't a hard bait kind of day. I tried them briefly yesterday. today. I think I tried every one except I didn't try the rattle trap. I did get back out of my rattle trap box, couldn't hear. I'm like, these baits are going to work or not work, or they're getting thrown out. Now this does work. We know this works, but honestly, these colors I may work through, and if the colors don't work, I'll just stick with this color. Now they do have, Strike King does make an olive shad. Not in every bait, but they do make some, and I think I may order them. The frog even let me down this morning. But in its defense, I don't know how good a bite was going on, and on the second fish, and you'll see it coming up in the video, it'll be in the chatterbait video. I got on a few different things. We caught some actually on this jig again today. But this dude, the first hit, the fish missed it, not me. I didn't miss the fish. The fish did not hit it, like it wasn't something you could set the hook to. It was a decent blow up. Then I had another one, and I was nowhere in a position to set the hook. But I tried. I gave it a gung-ho try, and I didn't set it right because I had him, I felt the weight, he came down, and then I want to say, I don't even know if it was the first jump or the second or whatever, this baby come flying back out at me. So the frog is like 1-1 more or less. So now I'm not giving up on it, but it's like that. Now I briefly threw this yesterday, threw it just a little bit today. As of right now, it swims very well. It's a 3/8 dark sleeper. Swims, looks good in the water. I tried throwing it out, swimming it slow, throwing it out, letting it hit bottom, kind of almost dragging it, going as slow as I could to, stand to go anyway. It's not like, in my mind, that color maybe, or that, it's not like this magic bait, like it's just going to 100% catch a fish. But it may, I don't know, it may just been the time was wrong. These things so far are letting me down big time. I tried them today, and I'm not talking about the colors, I'm not talking about how they work or whatever. I feel they hang up just in rock, like horribly. I watched Mark Menendez in a video from when they first came out. He was overfishing riprap with the Strike King 1.5 deep dive from Square Bill. Okay, well, I'll throw it on some rock. This thing just, I feel anyway, it just catches and it's stuck. I don't think the Jabberjaw hangs up as much as this. I don't think that, what's funny is, I'll show you the bait. I was throwing this dude, same spots, 3XD. He didn't, I don't think I ever did hang up. Like it would stick and I'm like, uh-oh, and I'd let off and it would come back out of it. And I don't know if it's something to do with the bill needs to be so long where the hook doesn't reach or what, but these dudes just, I don't know what it is. I don't know if like you hit rock and this catches rock. I don't know what was going on. But as of right now, I don't like these. 1.5 deep diving square bills, I'm not, as of right now, I'm not a fan. It may come around. I'm not giving up on them. I'm going to, it's just the first couple outings. But I tried them yesterday up at Stockton, down at Stockton, a few different areas. Tried them today where I normally would throw. And then I knew I was trying to go slow, filling it. And then, when it was out deeper, I'm like, well, maybe I can try to grind it a little. No, like either way, like I felt like you'd just be reeling and all of a sudden it would just stop. And then it was stuck. I did not like that. I didn't even try this dude. In his defense, I haven't even thrown that chick magnet yet. I didn't have time, I guess. The wind did pick up and it got crazy windy. I threw these guys briefly. No magic yet. No fish on none of these baits. I didn't catch anything on that dude. I threw him just a little bit just to see like what's going on. And definitely gets through rocks better. This is probably my new, as deep as it'll go on rocks, is definitely probably the deep diver. I still got to get that color in one of these littler ones, Jabberjaw. And I'm not, unless one of these colors kicks in, I'm not replacing those. When those colors go, they're gone for sure. I didn't get around to scratching that one off. I'm getting rid of some of that orange. And, if, like I said, there's just those times, like you guys have seen 2, 3, 4 videos now, like all the bites tend to just fall off. Like I'm not catching them on this, that, and like throw that color Jabberjaw, and it just seems to, it kicks in. Today it was a chatterbait, that black and blue. I like got to an area where the wind was blowing hard into a rock, and and there was grass, and it was game on. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think in my head here. I don't even remember. It's not that I caught so many, I can't remember how many I caught. The bite was there for a brief time so fast, like I felt like I was catching one right after the other, so I don't remember how many I caught. And when it wasn't a ton, you'll see in the video. I got on a little area. That made the whole trip definitely worth it. Fighting the wind and all that stuff. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm still up in the air on rods, reels, and all that kind of stuff. These, because I like the Carbon Light 2.0s. I was back up at Rogers. I looked at the Jordan Lee rods again, and I don't think they're quite the quality of these. I mean, they're only $99. These Bass Pro are $120, but I don't think they're just the fit and finish and how they're put together aren't the quality of these Carbon Lights. I mean, they're not bad. And they do have 3 in the smaller sizes, but I guess what I'm debating is if I want to get myself used to fishing with a little longer rod, like 7 foot. And I've caught, in the video you're getting ready to watch, I did some damage with not this jig, but basically this style of jig, one of the ones from up at Rogers for $1. I caught some fish on it. Did work with the Big Sexy rod. I do like that rod. It's almost a perfect rod for, finesse or regular jigs or whatever, medium heavy rod. But it's almost like it's still bulkier than everything else, like the 6'9". So when you grab it, like I know I've got my heaviest like rod and reel combo in my hand when I'm fishing with it. Is the only downside to that rod, because I got the Zillion on it now. I had one of the other reels, and I probably put one of them back on it because it still is a balance fill, but it's a lighter balance fill. Even though the Zillion's not that heavy, I want to say is it 2 ounces heavier than the little Acras? I think it may be. And then still up in there with this guy. So as I get out of here, this morning was the first morning of the year so far. This, coming into fall, late summer, early fall. That reel feels cold. And somebody commented before, and I'm pretty sure it does. This is a cover plate that is not supposed to be metal, I think. I know the side plate I don't think is metal. But this reel feels cold in my hand when I'm fishing. It wasn't even that cold this morning, but man, my fingers got cold. And you'll see in the video when it does come out, I threw my gloves on. I was in a hoodie, I threw my gloves on just so my hand wasn't so cold holding on to that reel. And I'm like, oh, it's only going to get colder when it gets in, it was like 62, 4, 5 degrees, whatever it was this morning, and sun was just starting to come up, and I was over in the shaded side. It wasn't up and over the trees where I was at. And when you hold on to one of these reels, you don't get that with a carbon or plastic reel. You just don't get as cold as quick holding on to that. That's why if you watch the reel test, and he will sit there and put his hand on something and see if it feels cold or not. And I think some of these though, I think the paint can feel colder or hold. They just get colder faster. Metal just for whatever reason, it'll get hotter quicker and colder faster than like your plastics. Proof in that, I'm going to tell you a quick story and I'm out of here. If you guys don't know, for years I worked at a recycling plant, ran a crane, right? Grapple crane, grabbing stuff, throwing it in there, shredding it up, right? Over the years, every gas tank was pretty much metal. And you poke a hole in one of those, and due to just how metal works, it dries out. Like a metal container will dry out faster than plastic. So we start having major explosions in that mill because it's building so much heat. And people, if you're telling them all well, they need such a size hole in a tank in order to take it so we can run it. Well, our brilliant people were telling them they have this machine they made, like poke a hole, drain the gas, or do whatever. Well, and I'm just going to say it. Can I say? No, I'm not going to call anybody names. These geniuses decided, for safety reasons, once you drain the gas, they needed to plug the hole back up, right? So no little extras could run out or whatever. And we started blowing up. And I tried telling them, I go, the tank's like, if anybody knows the mixtures, right? Liquid doesn't catch on fire. The fumes do, right? Do you guys know that? So even though you drain the gas out of something, there still could be gas in the lines or gas up in the carburetors or wherever it's at, fuel injection system or whatever, and it can run into the tank, or it may take forever for that tank to dry out. So then the geniuses finally decided to pull drain them and then pull the tanks completely off, and then even let them set over and out of the way or whatever for a while. So that's a little quick story on difference between metal and plastic. If the old days, all the metal ones, and even you can do it on an older car, you get an older car in, when they poke those holes, those will be dry by the time they would make it from where they're doing it at till they get it to us, kind of deal. But we had big issues with explosions, and nobody listened to old Charlie. They're like, maybe he's onto something. I've only been doing it for several years. I've been in the junk and scrapping business for 30 years. Anyway, quick story. If you got any questions about any of the stuff, I'm sure I'm leaving something out that somebody probably asked me about over the week in a comment. But put it in the comment, ask it again. If I don't reply, just ask again. And, oh, yeah, Jay, we did the deal on Jay's reel. I am sending that reel back because it's a left-handed. I like that reel. I don't like that reel because it's left-handed. It is definitely awkward for me, but that reel itself, the JKS, is a legit reel. If it was right-handed, I would have been fishing with it this weekend because it definitely works very well. It's a good working reel. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Get out, go bass and bonsai. Whatever you do, make sure you have fun doing it. I got to go.